This is Mr. Allnutt. He's been painted, and I'm going to show you how to do a striped shirt without painting it. You're going to use fabric, and when it's done, it's going to look like this. So in order to do it in fabric, you need the pattern. And you can get this pattern online, and it's something I created that has the pattern for the shirt, and all you do is cut it out with your X-Acto knife, and then you follow the video and you know how to put it together. What we're going to be using is super glue. I use medium. The thin glue is just too fast. It just waters and it makes a mess everywhere. So this is a little slower and you have to hold it a little longer, but it works. And I'm using a flex tip on it. I use these flex tips to kind of keep the super glue going where I want it to go. I have this kind of scissors here that work really good for getting in close and trimming material on when you're doing this kind of a project. So here we go. Okay, we're going to try our first sleeve. We're going to put it on the arm, and we're going to put it about half and half. Make sure that it's going to cover both sides, and you want to put it up nice and high. There's a little seam. If you look at your figure, there's a little seam where the sleeve goes. So you want to be up just a little bit higher than that. So when you put the front piece on, it's going to cover it. What we're going to do is put a little glue right up on the top, right where the seam would be. And it works kind of slow, so you got time. So just make sure you kind of line it up. So you want to get that material to take at the top. And then you just kind of have to hold it until it sticks. Try to keep the glue off your fingers. And get that seam to set up. Okay, it looks like it's starting to set up. And you can see that it's grabbing the body right there. Okay, the glue's set up on the shoulder, so it looks pretty stable. And what you do is you take your sleeve and you start checking and see what's the best way for it to wrap around the arm. It looks like I can easily do it this way. So that one's pretty secure. The back's a little tricky because it wants to fold a little bit because I want it to run down that arm. So I'm going to go ahead and let it create its own little crease there. This kind of technique is more about folding cloth because you're not really sewing. So I think that will work. So what I'm going to do at this point is put some super glue on the arm here. Pretty generous amount. So you can see, put the glue right along in the inside. So then I take the material and I just put it right in there. And the trick is to get it there to stay there long enough for the glue to set up. We'll let that dry. Okay, the glue is set up on that side. So my next gluing move is going to be right here. So I'll put glue almost under his armpit and on his muscle right here. But I have to make sure this stays loose because eventually this is going to have to come and change the direction to go something like that. We'll put it kind of in the armpit area, down underneath the arms. And then I'm going to take this and get it up in there. If you need a tool or something, grab a skewer. See, that's starting to grab there pretty good. So now we've wrapped it around the front of the arm pretty good. The material you're seeing in the background there is the one as the back of it, but we'll eventually wrap that underneath the arm. So you want to put the seams where there normally is seams, which would be on the inside of the sleeve where it can't be seen that much. So we're going to let that set up good. Okay, so now that we have the front pretty well glued, in the back here we want to get that arm more secure there, so we're going to put some super glue right in here on the top part of the arm. We're going to try to wrap that back of the shirt with the back of the arm around. Starting wanting to stick to my fingers, so we go to a tool, and there's a little notch where the armband goes, so you can use that to help stabilize it. I think what I want to do is glue this armband in to get it in position before we take and turn the material, because the material has to go in a different direction because his arm goes in a different direction at that elbow. In order to make sure things lay flat, I want to do a little cutting here. Go to the other side. Find the joint and cut it right along the arm. So now we should be able to take and glue that material close right into the groove where the armband's going to go. And we still have plenty of material to go in the other direction, so we should be good. We super glued the shirt here into the groove where the armband's going to go. Got our little armband, and we want to get this started. So we're going to glue this right into that groove. So we'll take our super glue. I go along the arm there. Kind of set that in there. So you want to make sure it's in that elbow there pretty good. But we're going to need to let that set up hard so that when we pull on it, it's not going to pull out. The glue has set up where I glued it. And what I've done is taken this and wrapped it around through the arm so that we can put some pressure on it now. So we'll grab this armband and we'll find that groove, and I'm putting some pretty good tension on it right now. And as you can see, it's creating the armband effect. We've wrapped it once, and now we're coming around to the back. So we're going to put some glue right on the armband. We're going to pull on it to put pressure on it. You want to take your tool and make sure there's good contact with that super glue. And we had put pressure on the armband. So we're letting that glue set up. Okay, the glue is dried on the back of the armband. I'm going to take my scissors here, get in as close as I can. These have a nice point on it, so usually you can get in there and cut it. You could use your X-Acto knife. In fact, I'm going to use it right now. And there you go. So there's the rest of the armband. This one's pretty tight to the arm. But now we need to figure out how we're going to do this part here. I always like to make the front, which is the show side, look the best I can. So that one looks pretty good. We've got enough material to fill the back. So I think that's what we're going to do. Always prefer to fold stuff rather than try to cut a lot of cuts. And we just want to try to make sure that armband shows. So we've got a pretty good fold there. We've got it in position, so we're going to put a little super glue. So make sure that it gets saturated where you want it so that it's going to hold. I'll put a little bit on the plastic here too. So I want it to grab right there. You've got time. You know where you're going to fold it. Just come over here and fold it close to that armband so that you can still see the armband. And then the super glue is down a couple layers of material, so it probably won't come through, so you can hold it with your finger. And as you can see, the stripes are now going in the right direction. Don't have to worry about what the back's doing right now. We have a plan for that. The glue is set up on that front sleeve. Looks pretty good. And now we need to do the back. And we're going to be wrapping this. If you notice you're getting some extra material you probably don't need, then you can just take your scissors and get rid of it. So we're just going to take a piece right off of here. Don't think it's going to hurt anything. So now we have a little bit less material to deal with. So now when we get our fold going, let's see. So we're going to be bringing this to go the same direction as the front part, kind of like that. We're going to let that dry. So we glued the back of the sleeve here, and it looks nice and secure. And we're going to bring this flap over eventually, but we're going to attack it from the front. Put some super glue just underneath the material, and then force it up against where the end of the structure on the model ends. We don't want to have a lot of fraying on this. Just kind of do it this way. Get it underneath the material. And we'll just start pressing that material up against the structure, kind of like that. And what you're doing is kind of gluing it to the bottom as best you can so that it kind of creates an end. I'm going to let that set up a little bit, nice and dry for a few minutes. We've glued the front. So now we just have this little flap in the back here, and we're going to glue that down just by folding it over. So we take our super glue, a little drop in there, a little bit on the sleeve, take it and put a little pressure on it. Check it from the front, make sure it looks good. Okay, I think the glue is grabbing it. It looks pretty good. It looks pretty smooth. So this would be fine if this is where you'd like to stop. There's one more step, and it involves taking some material like this and gluing it onto the end of the sleeve to create an illusion that he's rolled up his sleeve. Okay, the glue is set up on that piece of material, and I've taped it in position on my cutting board, and I believe I want to make that about 4 millimeters, 3 to 4 millimeters. I'm going to mark it just shy of 4, I should say. Now I'm going to take my X-Acto blade, hold down the material, see if we can get a clean cut. We're going through 2 pieces of material. It's been doubled over. So we want to make sure we get through both of them. And it looks pretty clean. So we'll take off the tape. It doesn't look like it's separating. Let's see how this looks. So what we're going to do is put this on here and wrap it and glue it. We're going to get a square edge here. And I think I want to put the folded side up so that you don't see any kind of a cut. And I want to come in on the inside when I start gluing, so I'm going to take my super glue and put some glue right here. And just kind of hold it there. You just wait, let it set up. This is a medium super glue, so it takes a while. I'm going to press on it to make sure there's good contact and wait a few minutes. Then we'll come back and we'll do some more. Okay, that looks like it's taken pretty well. So now we're going to continue around the arm. We're going to take our super glue and we're going to put it right there. And we're going to let a little bit of this right on the edge. And the reason is we don't want that fraying later. I think that's probably good. So we'll put our finger on here so we don't pull the material off that we glued. And then we'll find that edge and just kind of hold it there. Let it set up. So now we know it's going to end right there. You can either trim it before you glue it or after you glue it. I think I'm going to trim it afterwards. So I'm going to move it out of the way just a little bit. Put some glue inside this material here so we can get it to go flat. And then we're going to put some right along where it's going to lay down. And then we're going to pull on it. We're going to line it up. Make sure it's going where we want it to go. And it looks pretty good. Put a little pressure on it. Okay, and we're going to let that dry for a few minutes and then we're going to come in and we're going to trim it. And it looks like it's holding pretty good. So now we're going to take our scissors and we're going to go in real close as we can, and give it a quick snap, a cut. And it's holding. I think that'll work. I think that looks good. So if you have any threads that start giving way or getting loose, then you can put a little super glue on the edge and lock them down. So that's how you do an arm. I'm going to do the other arm off camera, and then I will come back and we'll do the front portion. Okay, we've completed the arms, and now we're going to move on to the vest, or the front of the shirt. Okay, you take the V, and you're going to line it up right there, and then these are going to fold over the top because these are the shoulders. As you can see, they're going to cover part of the sleeve, which is good, and then this part's going to wrap around underneath here. So let's line it up. Check, make sure it's going to be over the belt. Put a little super glue right around that V area. So you kind of grab it the best way you can. work it as you go, but once you think you've got it pretty good, then just hold it there so that glue will set up. Okay, so we got some glue holding it in position here, and we're going to put some glue on the shoulders. So we're going to hold it in the front so it doesn't move on us, and we're going to pull those shoulders back. I'm going to hold it for a few seconds. Okay, the shoulders seem to be dried and holding, so what we need to do is work the vest around. I trimmed the corners a little bit to help them get past the hands. And then you can see how that's going to fit around that side there. And we're going to put some super glue underneath his armpit. Run it down the side, down towards his waist. Then we're going to take this and push it over. You got to hold it in position long enough for that glue to grab the plastic. So we're going to let that dry. And now we're going to do the same thing to this side and pull this one in. So we go up underneath the armpit. Going to run some glue down along the side, almost to the waist. Up around his armpit is tight. So we take a position that looks pretty good. And we put our finger on there and we hold it. It's holding. Okay, so we have the front of the shirt glued on. We have it nicely done along the top of the belt. We have it tucked under the armpits and glued, and the shoulders glued down. So it looks more like a sewn piece of material rather than a gap. The side has been fixed. And now we're going to do the back. This is the back panel. And it's going to fit just over the belt, under the armpits. And the back is going to come up fairly high and touch some of the other panels. So what we're going to do first is glue the bottom to make sure that's where we want it to be. So we'll put some super glue, take our material, line it up just over the top of the belt, make sure it's going to fit under the armpits. I think that looks pretty good. Let's see if she holds. Okay, we've glued the bottom part of the shirt on the back just above the belt. We want to secure this side first over here. So we're going to go here. We're going to put super glue on the shirt underneath the armpit. And we'll just have to wait a minute or two while this glue sets up. Okay, I think it's caught. You can see the seam. Now the stripes are coming together there. And we're going to do this other side, but we're going to let this dry a little bit more to make sure it's secure. Okay, now we're going to glue this side here. And we're going to take our glue. And we're going to run it right on the material that we're going to flap down. Right underneath the armpit. And just come down the side where it's going to flap over. Going to take our tool. It's starting to take now. The glue is a little slow. Eventually it starts to grab. So there you have it. And now we just have this area up top here we want to secure. So we're going to take some super glue. A little bit on there. I think it's making good contact, so we'll just stop right there. And we'll just let that dry. Okay, so we've got the back of the shirt all glued down. And now we got just a little space up here we need to fill for the top of the neck and shoulder area. Okay, so we've glued this top panel behind the neck. We have a little bit of space here, so we're going to put some glue in there and bring that down. We have a little bit of a gap here, so we're going to come up to here. You just keep pressing. Eventually the glue grabs it. And there's a little gap on this side. This side looks good. So now we've got a seam that's laying flat. Okay, now we're going to glue the collar on. And the collar is going to come around to the front like this. So the best way to do it is to put some glue back here. Make sure you have it the right way. And kind of put that right in the middle the best you can. About half and half. And we're going to let that dry. Okay, so we've glued it on the back. So now we want to put a little glue on the side here. We just want to hold it in the back, hold it against where the collar will be. And it's going to come around this way here, so you want to hold it there. And let that glue set up. Now we're going to do the same to the other side. So we're going to put some glue right on where his collar would be. And we want to hold that in the position so that it dries in the direction we want it to go into. Now we're going to glue the front of the collar right about there. So we're going to put a little drop of glue. And just hold it. Okay, we're going to let that dry. Okay, we're going to do this side of the collar. But as you can see, that it's a little bit too long. So we're going to cut it. Probably about 1/16 of an inch. Let's see how we did. I'd like to improve the angle a little bit. So I'm going to be real brave here and cut it at an angle. I think that'll work. So now we'll glue this side down. That looks like it's making contact, so I'm just going to leave it and let it dry. Okay, we're at the last step. This is where we're going to glue on the pocket, and it's just a flap, and the pocket is inside there. So we're going to mark this 8 or 9 millimeters off the belt. just so I have some kind of a target. And of course I want to cover up that dot. Okay, looks like the glue's holding. And we'll put a little touch of glue under each side to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. And that should work.